Hi everybody, today on how to write poetry, let's talk about ekphrasis. But first of all, what is ekphrasis? Ekphrasis is a verbal representation of a visual object. It means that when you see a great object, a great work of art, you'll feel inspired to write a poem. And this is ekphrasis. Ekphrasis is an encounter between a visual work and a written representation. And it is your response, your aesthetic response, that involves not only the visual, but also, or mainly, the emotional and self-reflection. How this work of art touches you. Why is it important to you? And what did you feel when you encountered it? So you can put on the paper this emotion, these feelings, and then you start your process of creation. Let's take a look at this painting. It's The Fall of Icarus by Peter Bruegel, and it has inspired many poets to write about it. For this painting, the Dutch painter Peter Bruegel got his inspiration from Greek mythology. The painting is about the Greek myth of Icarus, a very young boy who flew very close to the sun with the wings made of wax. And of course, the wax melted and he fell down. Though the paint is about the Greek myth of Icarus, it's not very easy to find Icarus here. That's because Bruegel had a very curious way to represent the myth. So you can see other people just perform their daily tasks, but it's not very easy to find Icarus. I would ask you, can you find Icarus here? One really needs to pay attention and look for Icarus, to find him at the corner of the painting, just two white legs droning. That's Icarus. That's how Bruegel represented Icarus. And this way of representing the myth just gave inspiration to many poets to write about it, to write about not the myth itself, but to write about the way Bruegel represented the myth. This poem, Musée de Beaux-Arts by W.H. Auden, is a good example of ekphrasis. He wrote it after visiting a museum in Brussels, and he encountered Bruegel's The Fall of Icarus, and that's the poem. About suffering, they're never wrong. The old masters, how well they understood its human position, how it takes place while someone else is eating or opening a window or just walking daily along. Let's see the last part of the poem. In Bruegel's Icarus, for instance, how everything turns away quite leisurely from the disaster. The plowman may have heard the splash, the forsaken cry, but for him it was not an important failure. The sun shone as it had to on the white legs disappearing into the green water, and the expensive, delicate ship that must have seen something amazing, a boy falling out of the sky, had somewhere to get to and sailed calmly on. For the poet, Bruegel's painting represented pain and suffering. Although there are many forms of reading the myth of Icarus as a foolish boy or an ambitious boy who flew near the sun, Bruegel's represented the myth as the human tragedy and human suffering. And for Alden, Bruegel's work, it's not only about suffering, but it's also about this indifference and people who do not care about the pain of the other. As he says in the second line of the first stanza, old masters or Renaissance artists like Bruegel knew well how to represent human pain. In many ways, the painting is about this disconnection of life and death. If our human needs are so connected to life, we have to work, we have to survive, and our human existence is very connected to death itself. So that's the way Bruegel represented the myth that inspired so many poets to write ekphrastic poems about it. If you like this video, please consider supporting our work by buying our book on Amazon. Thank you.